Hi, all. Hi, Eve. Hi, Teresa.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm just letting all the people in. We having a good day so far?
Hey, Laura, is this open to anyone?
It is. Invite your
Okay.
friends.
Okay. I'll invite myself first.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember me.
I do. Of course I
Oh, you
do.
do?
I
I didn't know.
do. Good to see you.
Sometimes you get
How have
lost
you
in the
been?
sauce. Good, good, good.
Good.
Trying to get the ball rolling. It's rolling a little, but
Yeah.
would like to get a little more to that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I've done a couple of classes recently. We're on like adding to your pipeline and finding new clients. And so if you want to go to my YouTube channel, there's probably some recordings there that might
Yes.
help you. So I
Yes,
think
yes,
if you go to
yes.
YouTube and you search Real Success Blueprint, my channel should come up and there's all kinds of goodies in there that, but right now, if you're trying to get things going, finding new clients and filling your pipeline is probably where you got to focus right now.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
thank you. That was
I'm so
awesome.
glad you're here. Good to see you.
I know. It's been a while,
It's been a long time.
right?
I'm still here, slinging houses and slinging knowledge,
That's
one day
good.
at a time.
I'm ready to start slinging.
Yeah, I hear you. It's tough. This is in my 24-year career, 25-year career. This is the hardest year I've had in real estate. So
See,
even
that makes me feel good. Truly,
yeah,
it
and
does
it
because
should.
it
I mean, just to be honest, you're not alone.
right puts it in
Even
perspective. Yeah.
even in 2008, this has been a harder year than that was for me,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
saying a lot,
Okay,
like
then
that
I'm
should
proud
tell
of what
you.
I did. My little
Yeah.
accomplishment I have had.
Oh, good. Well, do you want to share what your accomplishment was?
Oh,
Like,
I just got a listing.
okay,
So about what 3 weeks ago, and then
okay,
I just
great.
closed on the buy side for a lease. So
Awesome. You should be very proud of that. I don't
I
care what
am.
anybody says.
I'm
It's
claiming
a
it,
tough
girl.
market right now. So
It
good for
really
you.
is.
Proud
Yes,
of
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Awesome. Let me give you guys, I'm just telling you, you're definitely not alone. This has been the hardest, even with a lot of my coaching clients. Like, I've struggled too with just, you know, consistency has been real hard this year because everything is so up and down. And on top of that, um, people are on the fence. People are pickier than they've ever been. They've also, the rates are so high and we're dealing with inflation that people are feeling the squeeze everywhere. We don't have as many people entering the buyer market right now as we once had. So we have to work twice as hard, to find us clients that are actually going to get to the finish line. I've had more terminations in this year than I've probably had in my entire career, which is nuts, I think. All right, I'm letting Jim Fuller in. All right, who else are we waiting on? Man, I had like 15 more people tell me I'm gonna be there, and then here we are. Hi, Donna. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking at myself in my in the Zoom and it gives me this ugly pink lipstick. I
I
have
thought
no
your
lips.
lipstick was orange at first. I was like, oh, that's a color, and now
Yeah,
I see it's
that's
not.
not what I'm wearing.
It's okay. It's all good. Don't worry. You brought
Yeah,
your lips. That's all that
I
matters. It's
brought my
all good.
lips. So yeah, my lips are front and center.
Yeah. All right. Hi, Jim. Thanks for joining us from the car. Hi, Cindy. I got a couple more people straggling in here.
Hey Laura,
Hi. How are you today?
good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you could join us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh, don't worry, Cindy. You can change that in your settings. You can go to your settings and change the name. Actually, if you go to the three dots in the upper right-hand corner of your name, it'll say rename and you can change it there.
Thank you.
You're welcome, darling. Okay, so I want you to understand overcoming objections. Hi, Deanne. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Look at you. She got her name tag on and everything. She's
I just came from a meeting and I'm inhaling my lunch. So
she is no secret agent, y'all. Look out. All right. So what I want you guys to understand about overcoming objections is that it is actually a skill. This is not something that like somebody can just give you the language and you're gonna automatically know how to do it and what to do, right? You are going to have to get really good at listening. You're going to have to get really good about hearing what they're actually saying, excuse me, and not planning your response for what they're saying. Like you need to actually hear what the objection is first so that you can overcome it. You need to hear what their concern is. One of the ways that I try to head off objections before they actually happen is asking them, tell me something that is, what is the scariest thing about buying a house right now for you? What are you afraid of? What are you concerned about? When you ask questions like that to a buyer or a seller, they're going to tell you exactly what you need to know. What is the most concerning thing for you about buying a house in this market or buying a house right now? What are you worried about? What are you concerned about? What do you have feelings about? I'm asking that usually on the front end because then I already know kind of how they're feeling and what their concerns are, and I can help monitor those concerns throughout the process. If you wait until the objection actually shows up, sometimes you're too late. Sometimes there is no overcoming it. Sometimes they have already decided for themselves that this is not going to work. And so what I want you to know is that you really need to try to be proactive in finding out what their feelings are about this so that you can help them process it. I always laugh and tease everybody and tell them, oh, well, I'm a therapist part-time because half of what we do is managing our clients' feelings, right? Buying real estate and selling real estate is emotional waste. They make impulsive decisions based on how they feel. So finding out how they feel on the front end will help you overcome whatever objection that they have. Does that make sense to everybody? Asking them. Don't be afraid to ask. What are you afraid of? What are you excited about? What are you concerned about? What are the biggest things that you are worried about so that I can help you navigate that throughout the process? But ask on the front end, okay? So, Teresa, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. Do you record these? And if so,
Yes.
can I
And they
do
are
I
always,
have
then they're always posted to my YouTube channel within 24 hours.
awesome. So I just get to listen right now. I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you.
No worries. Don't worry. I try to make this as easy for you as I possibly can, you know? Okay. So first of all, before we talk about objections, we have to do three things. The first thing is we actually have to realize that we're needed in this process. You need to recognize that you are not a salesperson. And those of you that think you are, you can if you want, but I'll tell you, you're going to get a lot further in this if you actually recognize that you are in the service industry. You provide a valuable service to buyers and sellers in assisting them in purchasing and selling real estate, right? And that you are needed and valuable in this process. If you're not sure yet about that, if you don't believe that to be true, I want you to make a list of all the things that could go wrong without a realtor. Ask other realtors. Go in a Facebook group and ask them what could go wrong if somebody doesn't hire a realtor, and write down all the things that they say. You're going to learn very quickly that what we do is we help people avoid litigation. We protect them. We help them navigate a very emotional, high stress situation, and that the skills that we have are not things that people do every day. I just hung up the phone with a seller that has never sold a house before. They don't know what to do. They don't even know what to expect. That's what they need me for, right? My value to them is walking them through every step of the way, preparing them for what's to come, and helping them sidestep what things could happen, what things could go wrong. You should be utilizing that list of things that could go wrong as an effort to insert your value, not as a scare tactic about you need me or you're going to get sued, but with my knowledge and my experience, I can help you avoid possible or probable litigation, right? We had a seller recently that we had to fire because they refused to disclose flooding that they knew about, right? I'm not going to take on that kind of liability and potentially lose my license, which is something I've had for 25 years, because you don't want to disclose a flooding issue, right? That is the value that I bring to the table, is keeping your butt out of court, right? Keeping you from being sued. And so I need you to realize that you have something needed and very valuable. Number two, I need you to be so convicted and passionate about what you do that people are convinced that you have or are the solution. You must have such confidence in your skill set and what you bring to the table that it is a no-brainer that I'm going to hire an agent versus going it alone. And you guys have heard me say before, you can cut your own bangs and you can do your own taxes, but should you? Right? Should you? I want the people in your life, in your community, to know that you are so good at what you do that of course they would never dream of going it alone, that you are the answer, right? You need to be so convicted and passionate about what you do that people are attracted to you. I find that most realtors don't attract people, they run them off, right? Like cockroaches, they scatter when the lights come on, right? When you tell people you're a realtor, the people scatter in your life. And I want them to come to you because they know that you have the knowledge and experience and the know-how to get them through this unscathed. Okay. Number three, you must have a connected relationship in order to reach them. There has to be a high level of respect and trust already built. And this is why one of the objections we're going to talk about today is going to be so hard, because you now have to get an agreement signed before you ever show a house. And for some people, that means there's no relationship yet, right? Overcoming an objection means that you have a connected relationship, that they are open to hearing what you have to say. When you don't have a relationship and I try to overcome your objection, it comes across as being a used car salesman. It comes across as being manipulative. It doesn't come across as being trustworthy. People have their walls built up, right? When we have a relationship, that wall is totally lowered. People are open and receptive to your opinion. People are open and receptive to your different way of thinking. But that does not work if you do not have a relationship. So can everybody agree with me? One, I am of value and I have something of worth to share with other people. Two, I'm very passionate about what I do, and that is conveyed in how I talk to people and treat people and when I meet with people. And three, I am going to have an established relationship with somebody and build rapport and trust with them before I try to convince them that my way is the way. Right? Everybody with me there? Okay. You must take relentless action to push back or challenge any roadblocks in your way without being adversarial. So I want you to think about it. If I tell you that I want to buy a red car, and you know statistically red cars get more tickets than any other car on the road, and your goal is to convince me maybe you shouldn't buy a red car, I'm not going to be open to listening to your advice about a red car unless you give me some other points or some other way to reach me that has to be more meaningful and impactful to me. Why does it matter to me? Right? You can't just give your opinion and think that people are going to accept it without having some kind of concrete support under it. The other thing is that sometimes we put roadblocks in our own way when they don't need to be. We're anticipating pushback that sometimes we don't ever get. We start dreaming up a situation in our head that they're arguing with us over something that never actually happens. So we build up all this anxiety, ready to take on the fight. And that's not even the concern of the client. The client's not even concerned about that issue. They're worried about something else that has nothing to do with you. Right? So I need you to understand you've got to take action and you've got to challenge whatever roadblocks are standing in the way of your paycheck. Sometimes the roadblocks are physical. They are something wrong with the house. There's an inability to negotiate something, right? Sometimes they're not, and they're emotional. Those emotional roadblocks, I'm here to tell you, are a lot harder to get out of the way than physical problems. I can find people to repair things, but I can't necessarily change someone's mind about something if they're strongly convicted about why it's important to them, and if they have a personal reason about why that matters, right? So take action, push back on things that get in the way of you and a paycheck. An objection is actually an opposition of thought. It's someone contradicting or disagreeing or in opposition of something, but it's an expression or a feeling, typically. Okay. An objection is not a rejection. Read that again. An objection is not a rejection. A lot of times, most agents that I coach, when they get hit with an objection, they put their tail between their legs and they run because they don't know what to say. And someone gave them some pushback and now they're scared. Now the client is in control because the client gave you some pushback. You got to be tougher than that, my friends. You have to have some thick skin and you have to know your role and your value in it in order to push back in a way that's not adversarial, in a way that's not pushy, in a way that makes your clients feel safe and protected and properly advised. But it is not a rejection. It is simply a request for more information. If a buyer says, I have concerns about this neighborhood, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested in buying in that neighborhood. It means that they need more information about the neighborhood. Is there some more information you can provide to them to make them feel better? Or if they decided that neighborhood's a no-go, but you've got to ask more questions to figure out which is it so that you know how to respond and how to reply, right? What is at the heart of their objection? There are 5 steps. There is actually a science to overcoming objections. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because this is a whole class that I teach for 2 hours on how to actually overcome objections. And we practice that. We do role playing back and forth. This is just a little taste and a little sample for you to get some verbiage with the most common objections that we hear. Okay. But there are 5 steps to overcoming objections. The first step is to actually listen, not listen to reply, but listen to what they're saying. What words are they using? How do they phrase things? Is there emotion behind it? The second step is to actually acknowledge their objection. I hear what you're saying. I understand how you feel. I've seen this many times before. Then the third step is to isolate the objection. If this objection, if I had a solution for it, is there anything else that would be keeping you from moving forward? Can I isolate the objection so that this is the only concern you have? That's what isolate means. Can I get this objection by itself? I want to validate their objection. I can completely understand why that's of concern to you. You told me that you have a child with special needs. I understand why this matters so much to you. I get it. I'm on your team. And then the fifth step is the hardest for most agents because they're cowards sometimes, right? They put their tail between their legs and they run when they get a little pushback. But the fifth step is to actually challenge the objection and to reframe it. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. Everybody understand the 5 steps? You with me there? Number 1, what are they actually saying? Do not listen with the intent of responding. You're not waiting for them to stop talking so that you can talk. You are listening to the words that they choose to use. What are they really afraid of? What are their concerns, right? Gotcha, I was just checking the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. Your second step is to actually acknowledge. So words are going to be, for example, back on listening for a second, what are they actually saying? If they are using words like, I'm afraid, I don't like it, I'm just not sure, I don't know if we can afford it. Like, you need to listen to what the words are that they're using, because some of those words are going to be indicative of a bigger issue. They're not just the problem that they're telling you about. And we're going to get into that. On the acknowledgement section, what the ways that you can do that is by saying, what I hear you saying is, right? This is basic communication, y'all. Some of you could apply some of these in your personal relationships too with your spouses. What I hear you saying is that you want to spend more time with me. It's not what I'm actually doing, right? What I hear you saying is that this is more important to you than that, right? It sounds like maybe what you've identified is not really what you're liking. It sounds like you're looking for something a little different. It sounds like you're not sure if you want to commit to me, right? I see why you feel that way. Tell me more about why you feel that way. I hear that a lot. I have another client that recently felt the same way. Let them know that they're not alone in how they feel, right? That it's perfectly normal to be scared. It's perfectly normal to be worried that you're getting in over your head, right? Validate their concerns. I understand that you're concerned about crime or water intrusion or the floor plan or resale or whatever. I understand your concerns. I can understand why you think ... right? These are all ways that which we acknowledge things. We've letting the person know that we're hearing. And sometimes this step is the same as repeating back what you heard. What I hear you saying is ... That's important because what I heard might not have been what they intended to say. Right? So clarification is the acknowledgement. Sometimes I need to acknowledge it and say what I hear you saying is that right? So that I understand how they feel, so that I have it clear. Make sense? Isolating the objection. Is there any other reason besides this that is keeping you from taking action today? This is also a skill set that most agents do not have, and that's the close, right? We wait for the buyer or the seller to give us the thumbs up and say, okay, right? We don't ask questions that make us vulnerable that say, have I given you enough information to make a decision to hire me? Are there any other things that you're waiting to hear that I haven't said yet that would make you feel better about hiring me? It's the ask, right? But I need you to get the objection all by itself. Whatever the objection is, should be the only thing we're dealing with right now. Not 7 problems. Let's take one problem at a time. Isolate the objection and get it by itself. Are there any other concerns that you have before moving forward? That may help you uncover more objections, right? If this were not a concern, would you write the offer today? That's me trying to gauge how big of a concern it is. They might just be voicing or venting, but they're still ready to move forward. I'm trying to find out how big of a concern is it, which leads me to my last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of an issue is this for you? That also is going to tell me, where do I put the emphasis on this problem that we have? How big of a deal is it? If this is a 10, then I need to get to the bottom of, okay, well, let's regroup. If this is a 1 or a 2, maybe I have some solutions I can put in place that make you feel more comfortable about this. But how big of an issue is this for you on a scale of 1 to 10? Don't be afraid to qualify things with your clients, especially when you're showing houses. And I really wouldn't even give it a scale of 10. I would probably keep it to a 7. When I'm showing houses, I keep it to a 7 because 10, there's too much in the middle, right? 7, you're going to lean on one end or the other typically, right? And so on a scale of 1 to 7, where does this house rank for you? Getting feedback from them is going to help them tell you more about what they're thinking and feeling. You're going to validate their concerns by saying, I understand. I see. That is a common feeling among buyers. I've seen this before. It seems like you really like this property, but you're stuck on this one thing. Am I right? Am I understanding what your concern is? I have felt that way too. You want them to know that how they feel is not alone, right? Tell me if I heard you correctly. Validating and make sure that you understood what they said. It's okay to feel that way. It's natural to feel this way. I know it's scary. I can see why. It sounds like most people would agree. You're validating how they feel. One of the ways that you can validate with your clients over and over and over again is reminding them, you and I are on the same team. I'm here to work for you, right? You and I together as a team will find a solution for this problem that you're having or this concern. Does that make sense? All right. Number 5, the challenging and reframe is the part you guys struggle with. If I could show you, and this is what I use with for sale by owners all the time. If I could show you that you can actually net more money and hire me and still pay my fee and still make more money, would it be worth a conversation to you? If I can show you. If I had a solution for this problem, would that then make you feel more comfortable about moving forward? If I brought you something you couldn't turn down, would you still be interested in selling your property, or would you still be willing to sell it? if we were able to find a solution for whatever their problem is, would that then make you feel more comfortable moving forward? You're reframing and giving them options and saying, if I could show you, or if I had a solution, how would you feel if I ... giving them solutions to whatever the objection is. So for example, in today's climate, I don't want to sign a buyer broker agreement before I go look at houses. And one of my challenges or reframes may be, if I could have you sign an agreement that's specific to that property only, or for one day until we get a better chance to get to know each other, would that make you feel more comfortable about signing an agreement with me? Right? Could we sign a non-exclusive agreement? Yes, you can. There's options, right? So I want you to challenge the pushback that you're getting. I want you to ask, if we were able to do XYZ, would that make you feel more comfortable? Giving them solutions and isolating the objection, making sure that the objection is not that big of a concern anymore. If I have found a house that met 85% of what you're looking for, would you be able to move forward, or would you be willing to move forward? Okay. Any questions on the challenges or reframes? That's the science behind isolating objections or overcoming them. The big thing that I want you to understand, remember, you've got to listen to them. You need to acknowledge what they're saying. You need to isolate the objection and get it all by itself. You need to validate how they're feeling and that you understand how they're feeling. And then you need to challenge it or reframe it or provide solutions to whatever that objection is. Does that make sense? Shake your heads for me. Yeah? Okay. Can't hear your heads rattle, so I just need to know. All right, common objections we hear with buyers. The price is too high. So some of the reframing I might do with that would be, if I could get the price down, would you be willing to move forward on this house? If we could structure it so that only changed your mortgage payment by $12, would you feel more comfortable spending that amount, right? I'm trying to get the objection to the price off to the side. So I'm having a solution for that. This isn't the right time for us. That's one I hear a lot. And that's because people are squeezed. They're feeling the pinch. Their credit is taking a hit over the last year. So we're not sure that now is the right time. Where will we go, right? So you've got to have some solutions for those kinds of things. So if someone says it's not the right time for us, my first question is going to be, talk to me about what's happening in your life right now. Tell me a little bit more about why this is not the right time. And then my goal is to actually explain to them how it could cost them more by waiting a year. How much are they losing out on equity? Are the prices going up or going down? Right? Timing is the right time never exists for anybody. It's like, when is the right time to have a baby? Never, right? Never. But you're never prepared for it whenever it happens anyway. So there is no right time or wrong time. You just do, right? The same thing with buying a house. There's a better time. There's a right time. There's an awful time. But the right time is when it's right for you. Let's talk about what's going on in your life that makes you feel like now is not the right time. Okay. I'm not sure about this neighborhood. Okay. Tell me what about this neighborhood concerns you. I want to find out what it is that they don't like. Is it the lawns aren't maintained? Is it the multiple cars? Is it the street parking? Is it that the lots are too close together? Tell me more about what about this neighborhood you don't like, because the more I know, the better I can help you identify what you want, right? I don't like the countertops. That's an easy one. Are countertops permanent forever? My favorite one is I hate the paint colors. I want to punch somebody with a paint can in the face when they tell me that, right? Here, let me take you to Lowe's myself. I'll buy you a 5-gallon bucket of paint, whatever you want. But that is the crazy things that buyers say that is an objection for them, because they're like, oh my God, I can't live with that green wall. Okay, what color would you like for it to be? I'll paint it for you, right? But you got to understand that people are emotional. We also live in an HGTV society where they see it exactly how they want it, and they're not willing to do a minimum of work or paying someone to paint it. They think they have to do it themselves, and they overestimate what they think it costs. So again, some of my solutions are going to be, you know what? I'm happy to get an estimate for you for replacing the countertops. Maybe that's something we can negotiate in the deal. I'm happy to get an estimate for paint. I'll have my painter come over and paint 3 rooms for you for free. That I'm willing to do, right? You decide for yourself what you're willing to do and what solutions you might have in place. But I promise you, buyers are always going to overestimate what they think it costs to do a repair. So it's good for you to have resources in your pocket that you can connect them with that has valid pricing information so that they're not overestimating and making decisions based on false information. I had a buyer once told me it was going to cost $25,000 to paint a 1,200 square foot house. No, it's not, sir. Here's 3 estimates from 3 local painters for 1,200 square foot house because they do it every day. They don't even have to look at the house. Here's what the price is, right? But this is the things that tell themselves, right? So you want to have things to counteract that. I would have to put too much money into it. So this one's always my favorite because all the time I'll try to ask for feedback from showing agents and say, well, what did you think of your showing at 123 Main Street? And they say, oh, it was too much money for what my buyer wants, or it's too much money for me to have to get into it, right? And so my pushback or my objection that I try to overcome with that is, well, talk to me a little bit about what kind of improvements you would need to make to this house. What would we need to do to make this right for you? And then you try to see if there are solutions in place. There might be a loan product that they could use for the renovations. They might be able to negotiate some of the renovations. They might be able to bump up the price and get the money back to do renovations. There's 7 ways to skin a cat, y'all. You got to find out what the concern is and then be solution driven. Find out what is the solution to the problem. And if that solution still doesn't pacify them or satisfy them, then that's probably not the right house for them. That's okay. But you want to try to overcome whatever objections you can with solutions. I don't want to sign a contract with you. Okay, my favorite. Tell me why. Tell me what your concern is, right? I don't ask anybody to marry me on the first date. Do you? Signing a contract is practically asking someone to marry you. So there are other ways that you can ease into that relationship. Let's date. Let's date every time we go look at a house. Let's date. We'll sign a new one every time. I don't care. Right? You don't want to sign a contract with me. What my next question is going to be, is there something that I have not shown you or told you or demonstrated to you that would make you feel comfortable hiring me? And I'm always going to ask that question because they're going to tell you straight up, well, you're a little pushy, you're a little abrasive, you're a little aggressive, you know, I didn't feel like you listened to me. You only take my, I always have to call you 4 times. They're going to tell you. And then that's an opportunity for you to improve your service. If people tell you why they don't want to hire you, they're giving you all the information you need to improve. You just might not want to hear it, but you should ask. Could you give me a little bit more information about why you're not ready to hire me? What are you waiting to hear or see that would make you feel more comfortable? Okay. I'm going to use my Aunt Linda, who is a realtor. Oh, Aunt Linda. You know what? Everybody knows 10 realtors, right? So this is where I would typically say to a client, hey, I know everybody knows 10 realtors. My mother was a realtor. Trust me. Even if I had a family member, I totally understand why you might feel obligated to use Aunt Linda. But one of the things that I want to mention to you is that you have lots of options. We could bring Aunt Linda into the transaction and I can help teach her if she's new and she could learn along the way and I can pay her a referral fee. We might be able to just pay Linda a referral fee and I don't teach her anything, but she still gets some money. But sometimes mixing business with family is not the best option, right? So I want to overcome that. I want them to know that they do have options when working with me, but that's for you guys to decide. Okay. If you're going to include Aunt Linda or you're going to tell Aunt Linda to kick rocks, that's up to you. But I want my clients to be able to invite Aunt Linda to sit next to Aunt Linda at the Thanksgiving table and not have bad blood, right? And Aunt Linda might need to be included some way, shape, or form. But maybe Aunt Linda doesn't work in Tennessee or wherever state I'm in. Maybe Aunt Linda is in California and they do things real different there. So don't listen to Aunt Linda's advice. I need you to listen to me. Because you're not buying a house where Aunt Linda lives. You're buying a house where I live, where I sell, where I've been selling every day. Because I'm telling you right now, Uncle Bob and Aunt Linda, who haven't sold a house in 25 years, are not giving you advice. They're not giving you good advice. Okay? So don't be listening to Grandpa James, who hasn't bought a house since 1972. We do things a little differently now. Okay. Can't you just show me the house? Nope, sure can't. Not anymore. So we have options. You can sign a non-exclusive. You can sign an exclusive. We can make it for 24 hours. We can make it for an hour. We can make it for an individual property address. There are lots of options that we can do. But at the end of the day, we cannot go cross the threshold of a door to a house until I've explained to you how buyer agency works and until you sign a paper acknowledging that you have been explained it. That's what it is. The other part about this is if someone says they don't want to sign a contract with me, or why can't I just show them the house? It is my job to educate them about why they need representation. I want you to go back to your pre-licensing days. You know, that class you had to take that didn't teach you shit, that didn't teach you anything you need to know how to do this business. That one. I want you to go back and I want you to think about the difference between a client and a customer, right? The customer, the only duty that you owe to a customer, there's only few. Honesty and fairness, to disclose any material facts that you might know wrong with the house, and to take care of any money that you've been given, whether they're a customer or a client, right? That's it. As a client, I have so many more responsibilities and duties owed to you. I have to put your interests above mine. I have to help you do due diligence. I have to negotiate on your behalf. I have to schedule appointments and show you things. I have to help you figure out all the things that could be wrong with this house. But as a customer, I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is tell you if I know something that could be wrong with the house. But when you are my client, I am putting on my realtor goggles and I do this for them. Y'all think I'm crazy, but you got to do what works with people. I put on my realtor goggles and I say, now I'm looking at this house from a different perspective. You are my client that I have a vested interest to protect. As a customer, you are no different than somebody who climbs in the back of an Uber and I'm just dropping you off. Oh, Donna's eyes just got real big, right? Right? As a client, my job is to look out for you. Now I have got my realtor goggles on and I'm walking through the house and I'm looking for signs and indication that there are things that are wrong, right? It's not what I know already. It's what my experience tells me that you need to know based on my experience. So what do your realtor goggles tell you different for a client than they do for a customer? Make sure they know that. It's not about just marrying me on the first date and I'm binding you to a contract for life. That's not what it is. And if that's what they think, then honestly, they don't understand your value as an agent. And that means you haven't done your job of making sure they understand what you bring to the table, why they need you. And let's just offer X and see what they say. I love that. That's great. That's like throwing spaghetti noodles against the wall, see if it sticks, right? Let's just see what happens. No, we're going to use data to show us what other sellers have accepted. We're going to use data to show us what the market will bear. We're not just willy-nilly throwing a number out of the sky and see if they'll take it. That's not how I operate my business, right? I don't have time to meet with you before looking at houses. If this is something, if you're trying to get a buyer broker appointment, a buyer consultation, they tell you I don't have time to meet with you before looking at houses. Well, unfortunately, with the new rules, I can't show you a house until we at least discuss agency and how I work and how I get paid. That conversation really shouldn't take us more than 10 or 15 minutes. Would a FaceTime or a Zoom be better for you? I'm sure you can carve out 10 or 15 minutes for that, right? It's not something I'm going to sit there and go on and on for 3 hours about. I just need a few minutes to explain to you how I work and how I get paid. That's what the rules say I have to do, okay? We want to sleep on it, pray on it, think about it. That's fine with me too, right? I don't mind that. I'm going to acknowledge it. Hey, I totally understand. I want you to feel comfortable. I'm always going to use this phrase. I never, ever want you to feel like you got pushed or pressured into doing something you weren't comfortable with. I absolutely support you sleeping on it, praying on it, thinking about it. But I do have to warn you, the house that you're praying on tonight somebody already looked at yesterday and prayed on yesterday. If you are willing to take that risk, pray all week, whatever you want to do. But I just need you to know that I can't control the timing, right? And I need you to understand that it could go faster, however long it takes for you to decide. We might lose out on it. If you're okay with that, I am. I just need to let you know what the problem could be, right? I need to let you know what could happen. Does that make sense? Take all the time you want. Remember, I'm on your team. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to pray about it. I want you to think about it. I want you to consider all your options, right? But be careful taking too long to do that because you could lose the house. Why do I need a realtor? Oh, let me count the God blessed ways, right? You should be able to answer that question. If someone asks you, why do I need a realtor? I saw somebody in a Facebook group, which I had to laugh about. It's come up 3 times this week already. When someone says, can you guys just recommend a lawyer to review a contract? I don't need a realtor. I just want a lawyer to review this contract with a builder. Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I'm going to get on a soapbox real quick. I'm sorry. I'll make it quick. First of all, the builder's contracts are written to protect the builder, always. They very, very rarely are ever going to alter or modify that contract to appease you, the buyer. They'll just sell to somebody else that is willing to sign their contract. Second of all, do you think a lawyer, now it could be a real estate attorney that does real estate closings, but typically, if you're sending a contract to an attorney to review, most people will just send it to a regular attorney, right? They don't deal with this day in and day out. They have no idea what's normal, common, customary. I had a lawyer charge one of my realtors. She thought she was going to save money by using one of her friends as a realtor when she bought an investment property. The lawyer charged her $2,200 to review her contract instead of the $495 she would have spent with a title attorney. But hey, do you, boo? You want to spend $2,500? That's fine, right? But why do you need a realtor? So you don't do something stupid like paying $2,500 for the service that costs $400, right? Why else do you need a realtor? Can you answer those questions? Why do I need one? Make a list. Why do we need a realtor? There's also a document on the realtor.org website that's like 183 things that a realtor does for you. I suggest you review it, right? I love everything about this house, but ... Ooh, tell me what's the one thing you don't like, because I got solutions. My company offers a program where I can actually, it's called Redo, and I can actually show what, if somebody wanted to renovate the kitchen or renovate a fireplace, renovate a living room, I can actually take the picture and do whatever it is they're wanting and show them what it would look like afterwards, right? So tell me what the one thing you don't love about this house is, and I'll see if I have a solution to help you embrace it, right? I'm not sure we can afford to buy right now. Nobody can afford anything right now. I'm so broke I can't afford to pay attention. That's what most people say, right? And so I'm not sure we can afford to buy right now, but can you afford not to buy is the question, right? I understand it's expensive. I understand that the house prices are so high, but if you're a renter and you've been a serial renter for 10, 12 years, have your kids serial renters, have your kids had to change addresses 10 or 11 times? What is that doing for their growth and for stability, right? Are you building long-term wealth for your family? Do you have an asset that can later help you with whatever your future goals are? Starting a business, renovating, buying something that's going to help you, whatever your goals are. Like, can you afford not to buy? What does that cost? If you're a serial renter for 12 years, if you had bought 10 years ago, how much equity would you have in your house now? And what kind of money could that do for you? And I love to tell stories of people that in 2 or 3 years, people have doubled the value of their house in 2 or 3 years. That's a crazy market. That's not always going to be like that. But if I can even show people where they had $100,000 in equity after 5 years, you don't get that renting. You don't get tax implications. There's a lot of reasons why buying a house, you might need to weigh, can you afford not to? We are probably just going to rent for a year. Totally understand that. You're not familiar with the area. I get why you would want to rent and make sure you're in the right area first. But what does that year cost you? Are the house prices going to go up 10% or 7% in the year, right? Are they now out of your price range? The houses that you could have bought now, but you're going to rent for a year, that same house might cost you $25,000 next year more, right? So cautioning about renting for a year, it's just weighing their options to see if that's the best option for them. I want to offer X, which is 25% below list price. Again, I'm going to rely on the data and I'm going to show what the list price to sales price ratio is in that zip code or in that neighborhood or in that county, so that I can show them that sellers on average are getting 98% of their list price. Why would this seller take 75? Show them the data, not just, hey, I don't think a seller is going to accept that. Show them. All of your MLSs will run statistics reports for you to be able to pull that data, what the percent of list price to sales price ratio is. Most MLSs will also capture whether or not the seller paid concessions. Did they pay any closing costs? I had a lender once jump on a forum in a Facebook group and said, you know, he was pissed off because they wrote an offer and during the time, it was a very, very fast market in Middle Tennessee. Nobody was asking for closing costs. People were overpaying for houses. And he was pissed because he wrote an offer and he asked the seller for like $25,000 in closing costs. And he was pissed that it didn't get accepted. Well, first of all, he bought it without a realtor. Any lender that tries to do things without their realtor, first and foremost, you're dead to me, right? They try to sell their houses themselves and they always buy houses without us, but they need us to pay their mortgage. Get out of here, right? So I'm just saying, you know, he was mad that he didn't know that sellers weren't paying $25,000 in closing costs. That's data I have available to me. So you need a realtor to show you the data of what is acceptable in your market. What is your market accepting? I heard the market is going to crash. Oh my God, I hear this every day. I've heard it every day for 25 years in 4 states. The market's going to crash any minute. I'm still waiting, right? In my city, in one of the towns that I serve, there are at least 5, there may be 7 hedge funds now. Hedge funds have bazillions of dollars and smarter people than I will ever be. And as long as those people are still pumping money into my market, buying properties, what makes you think that their investment is different than your investment, right? They're telling you that they think it's a good place to invest their money. If they thought there was going to be a crash, do you think they would be buying 30 to 50 houses a month? So are there indicators in your market that give you information to tell somebody it's okay? Whatever happens in the market, you've got to remind people that real estate is not temporary. It's not a temporary investment. Yes, people have made large gains in 2 to 3 years, unheard of gains, doubled their money in that time. That's not normal. But a typical real estate transaction or a typical real estate appreciation is probably 5 to 7% a year. That's a solid investment. Regardless of what happens in the market, you're not going to lose your shirt unless you are overextended and your house is not worth what you paid for it and you're trying to get out of it. It doesn't matter if your house isn't worth what you paid for as long as you stay put. But if you're trying to sell it tomorrow, that's a problem. So I hear all the time that the market's going to crash. I don't care what they tell you. I'm looking for indicators that show me otherwise. Hedge funds, new businesses moving to town, corporations that move their headquarters to my town. The Chamber of Commerce has data and statistics to attract businesses to your locations. Lean in on all that data to show people that it is okay to buy in your market. Any questions about any of those common objections? No? I got 10 more minutes to cover all these seller ones. All right, we want someone with more experience. Remember, you are the special sauce, right? What you bring to the table is what matters to these people. And so you may want someone that has more experience, but maybe I have a better marketing plan. Maybe I have a better way of pricing your house. Maybe I have a better way of making your house look better before it actually goes on the market. You can always combat experience with confidence and competence. Demonstrate to them what you know. Doesn't matter if you've been doing this 25 years. Demonstrate confidence and competence and the experience goes away. typically. Maybe you have to partner with a more experienced agent if that's all they care about, but you can insert yourself there still. We need to think about it. This goes back to the praying on it, thinking about it. We're interviewing other agents. Good. I'm glad. I want you to interview other agents. And then I want you to call me back after you've interviewed them, because I want you to understand you do have options and everybody is different. Teresa operates her business differently than I operate mine, different than Donna does hers. It doesn't matter, right? I want you to interview other agents, but I want to have a better understanding about what you're looking for in an agent. What is most important to you? And I always will ask a seller, have you ever sold a home before? What has your relationship with a realtor been in the past? Tell me what that has looked like. They're going to tell you ways to win with them. They're going to tell you what's most important. Another agent is willing to charge us X, right? Every agent is willing to charge whatever they want, right? There is no set or standard compensation. It is always negotiable, but this is what my fee is. I would ask you to be careful if some other agent is offering to charge you only Y, whatever that number is. I would remind them sometimes that you get what you pay for. I can go out in town and find 20 agents that will do it for less than what my fee is. But you have to ask yourself what's most important to you. Do you want proven success? Do you want my years of experience? Do you want my proven marketing plan? Or do you want to risk it to save 1%? Do you want to risk the time? You told me that you have to sell your house because you have to be in another state by the end of next month. You are taking a risk on hiring somebody that's willing to do it for less. Are you compromising some of your service for that lesser fee? That's your pushback on them. Why do I have to fix my house up if houses are selling so quickly? We have one chance to make a great first impression. The condition of your property is going to determine how fast you sell it. So if speed is important to you, if you want to sell it quickly, it has to meet the condition that buyers are expecting. Remember, I already told you, buyers are expecting HGTV houses. They want it finished. They want it clean, for God's sakes. Can you get a broom? Can you get a mop? Can you wipe out the windows? Clean your house. Right? But for me, there's certain standards. And what I tell them is, I actually am not willing to take a listing unless they do these things. And that means it has to have a deep clean. That means that the lawn has to be cut. All the trash that's around your house has to be hauled off. I'm going to have non-negotiables that I'm going to have that seller know about before I ever put my sign in the yard. Because I have a standard for my business that I want to maintain. I don't want to be known when people pull up to the curb and they see my sign and they go, oh God, what is this going to look like inside? I want them to see my sign out front and say, Laura's a great agent. She knows how to prepare her sellers. I know this house is going to be in good shape. Because I've set that standard for my career. I've set that standard for my clients. And I've always given them what I call a white picket fence list and a non-negotiable list. The non-negotiable means, you know what? If you can only afford to do these things, let's do these things and let me see what I can do for the rest. Let me see what's most important on my white picket fence. What is going to be most important to get you the maximum dollar? But you need to have some standards for yourself in your own business. And you need to push back on a seller that says, I'm not doing anything. You need to remind them, remember you wanted to get top dollar. Remember, we're trying to squeeze every dollar out of this house. We cannot do that in the condition that it's currently in. The price range that I gave you, you're going to be towards the lower end of that range or even the next range down if we don't do at least these minimum non-negotiables. And if they're not willing to do it, you get to decide, is this a listing I want? Because am I going to invest time, energy, and money in a property where my seller's not listening to me? Or my seller is not willing to do their part of our teamwork to get this house sold? They have a vested interest. They have a lot more to lose than I do, right? We get focused and hung up on my $15,000 commission. What about their $150,000 worth of profit? Don't put your interest over theirs. Remind them. You want that $150,000 back? Because you don't have any of it until your house sells. You're counting your money. None of it's there until somebody's willing to give it to you. And if your house is not in the condition it needs to be in, you're not ever going to see the $150,000. Got me? Tell them, say it loud, say it from a megaphone, whatever you need to. Make sure they hear you say it. You operate a business. Set standards for your business, and those standards are going to separate you from the masses, these yahoos. For $1,200, I'll sell your house. Get out of here. It's not the same. We don't even run in the same circles. Right? Why do I need a realtor again? Why does the seller need a realtor? Yes, you can cut your own banks. Yes, you can do your own taxes. Yes, you can sell your own house. But do you even know what you're doing? Do you have any clue how to market your house? No, I can tell you by the pictures you took from your cell phone with Grandpa Jim on the couch with the Budweiser can in his hand that you don't know what you're doing. Your house is also $50,000 overpriced. And you want the buyer to keep your stupid trampoline and your basketball court and your pool table. They don't want it. You don't know what you're doing. You need help. Okay. We're considering for sale by owner. You can just bring us a buyer. We get this a lot, right? Totally want you to consider for sale by owner. I want you to see how hard I work for my money. Do you know what all's involved? Oh, you have 2 jobs that are outside of the house? When are you going to show your house? Oh, just on the weekends? Totally get it. All right. So when someone does want to make an appointment, how are you qualifying them? Do you know that they can afford your house? Have you looked at pre-approval letters before you open your door to them? Right? When they are interested, what are you going to use for a contract? Do you have one already? No, I'm just going to send it to my attorney. Oh, great. You can pay $2,500 too for the same service you could have got for $400. Right? Dig deeper and ask them more questions. Let them know that they can sell for sale by owner, but you wouldn't recommend it. Why? I'll tell you why. The National Association of Realtors say for sale by owners, on average, only receive 91 or 92% of their list price. The same data, same statistics says that with the help of a realtor, sellers receive 98 or 99% of their list price. So if I can show you that you can still net more money and pay my fee, would it be worth a conversation to you? And let me handle 180 some things that need to be done. You go to work. Let me do what I do. I do this every day. I've sold over 500 homes easily. We're afraid we won't find a new home that we love. Oh, I know how important this house is to you. I know you brought your babies home. I know your dog is buried in the backyard. I know you've got lines on the trim where your kids grew up. This house is special to you. I get it. Right? But what if we could find you something you love even more? What if we can find you something that, is the right fit? It means something different for your family. Right? Maybe you're changing the lives of your family by being open to finding if there is another house that you might love. I think my house is worth X. You can think that all day long, but I'm going to show you that your house is actually worth Y. This is what the data tells me, right? The market is going to show us that your house is actually worth Y. A house is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it and what a seller is willing to let it go for. I'm not taking a dime less than X. I get this all the time too from sellers that try to put their heels in the sand and they say, okay, we're going to price it at this, but I'm not taking a dime less. That is ultimately your choice. But one of the things that tells me is that seller does not recognize how this works. That seller is basically going to use your time and your energy and your resources. Oh my gosh, did I lose you guys? My gosh, I lost you guys. This is what happened to me today.